Social entrepreneurship is a team building journey, right? The team itself in the organization, as well as all of the community organizations and entities that it's working with. If you think about it as building a car, you can think about, okay, how fast do you want to go? How big does the car need to be? How many people need to be in there? What kind of energy do you want to use for this car? How comfortable do the passengers need to be, which is part of how far do you want to go and how long do you want to be driving? So all of these things come into it. And as you're designing that, right, you think about a design team for anything, for a car. It's not just one person, it's all of these members of the community that need to get together and talk about, well, what are the design features of this conveyance, right? Thinking about this like a design of a car helps to scope and it helps people understand what Mighty Red Barn does, because it's not all of this stuff around it. It's like, how do we think about the journey that this organization is on? How do we think about who needs to be in this car? How do we think about the length of time, right, that we need to be engaged to help them get to where they need to get to? So as you're designing that car, you're thinking about what kind of roadblocks might I encounter? And so one of those roadblocks is uncertainty, because when you start off in a car, you're not always sure what you're going to run into. You have that vision of the future where you want to get to, but you also have to design impact metrics so you can measure progress on your way. So that it's not just this final destination you're measuring, but also those in-between points. So I think that's a challenge that some organizations have, is a combination of both not having that future vision articulated, but articulated in such a way that they can actually measure progress incrementally toward it. Entrepreneurial activities tend to attract people that love and thrive in uncertainty, that love that kind of everything's changing all the time. But if that group only thrives on change and doesn't have that future vision, they can get dragged off into all kinds of different areas. They can peel off members of the team because they don't have a coherency in the center. So the biggest challenge for any entrepreneurial activity is really having that future vision, but having it in such a way that it's not just 2 years out, that it's 5 years out, or even in a generation, what do you want the world to look like? And so this is really Mighty Red Barn's strength, is coming in, helping to formulate, helping to design, and getting a group of people to work together towards that future vision and helping them build the tools so that they can get there. When you're creative and throwing ideas around places, you also have to accept that some of these ideas probably aren't the greatest idea, that some things are going to fail. This is why you take cars to the test track, right? You have this great idea, you're not quite sure if it's going to, you're pretty sure it's going to work, but you take them to the test track and you drive them around. Does it work? Does it not work? You take it back, you learn what you can from that experiment, take it back into the shop and tweak it. Accepting failure as part of the learning process is an integral part of what we do. Measuring impact is not just measuring financials. So when we talk about what are these metrics, those global metrics, it's how can we actually identify those things that would actually indicate this organization is reaching its mission. Part of what we do is really think through, again, what is that change you seek? What is the world going to look like 35 years from now or a generation from now? What is that change? And then how do we back up and figure out what those core 3 or 4 things are that we can get a baseline on now when you start and measure over time, and how are we going to collect that data? If you're just starting out as an organization, you have an idea of your mission. If you are an existing organization that knows you need to make a tack change, this is where Mighty Red Barn shines. We can help you identify your communities, work with your communities. We can help you identify the scope of what you're trying to do, and we can help you build that community, as well as a series of metrics that can help you measure the change that you seek as you go along.